Republican Senator John Thune of South Dakota is chairman of the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee. He worked to secure Mark Zuckerberg's testimony and met with the Facebook CEO yesterday. Senator, good morning. You met with him yesterday. What did you take away from that meeting?
Well, good morning, John. I think that what I took away from the meeting is that he wants to take this head on, which I think he needs to. Facebook has to step up, take responsibility for what happened, and tell us what they're going to do in the future to protect users' data and what they're going to do proactively to stop the harmful conduct that now they've had to go back and apologize for because it's something that happened in the past. We want to see what steps they're going to take going forward, but obviously want to see what he has to say about what's happened so far, and is it more pervasive than what we initially thought? In other words, are there other firms or businesses out there that have had access to this data and may have misused it?
And based on your investigation, do you believe there are other firms that have had access to that data?
We don't know for sure about that. We've had briefings at the staff level. We've asked those questions of Facebook. We're waiting for them to get back to us. And Mr. Zuckerberg did say yesterday that they are currently doing that, investigating that, looking back at their relationships and finding out if there are other firms that also had access to data that could have been misused.
Does he have to worry, and does Facebook have to worry about a lot of new regulations from the federal government? I mean, in addition to the specifics of the case here with Cambridge Analytica and some of the other problems, is that the big fear that Mark Zuckerberg has to worry about?
Well, I think I'm sure that's a concern that they have, John. And if you look at some of the past couple of years, you know, we've had hearings on radicalization on some of these social media platforms. There have been concerns about political bias in their news gathering services. Obviously, the election meddling by the Russians is another issue. So I think all these things have sort of come to a head, and it's time for Congress to exercise some oversight. We'll determine after we do that whether or not there are steps that need to be taken in the form of regulation or legislation going forward. But right now we want to get the answers, and we think Facebook needs to be accountable and transparent, and I'm glad that Mr. Zuckerberg is appearing today.
And this is a rare issue that has united both sides of the aisle in Congress with concern. Does it surprise you that the president has been virtually radio silent on this issue?
You know, I'm not sure that it's in his domain at the moment. I suspect that, you know, right now it's sort of a congressional interest, and I think it's part of our oversight responsibility. The committee that I chair has oversight of the Federal Trade Commission, which is responsible for consumer protection and obviously enforcement of privacy.
He speaks about other tech companies like Amazon.
Right. Well, he does seem to have an interest in Amazon. And I suspect at some point that we'll hear from the president on this issue as well. But I think the whole issue of social media and its influence in our lives and the data they have access to is going to be an ongoing issue now because more Americans are concerned about their privacy, and I think they have a reason to be.
Senator, we've already seen Facebook change its tune on supporting that it will verify the identity of political ads and its creators that air on Facebook. However, when it comes to foreign influence in our elections, has Facebook done enough? What concerns you?
Well, I think, Norah, that he's going to lay out a number of steps today that they've taken since the 2016 election, and they're taking a lot of sort of self-policing moves, I guess I would say, in terms of trying to root out that kind of influence. And I think their platforms have become a lot cleaner, and I think they've got algorithms now that they can use and artificial intelligence and different types of mechanisms to clean and clear that up. So I think they'll be much better at it going forward, and obviously this is sort of a wake-up call to them that they're going to have to.
Senator, who else would you like to hear from in the coming weeks and months? Ranking Member Nelson has suggested bringing in Cambridge Analytica. Would you do that?
I expect at some point we will. You know, obviously we're interested in other firms too that may have had access to the data in the same way that Cambridge Analytica did. They just announced over the weekend, Facebook did, that they've suspended yet another firm, an analytics firm. And so we're going to try and get to the bottom of this, and I think it's entirely likely at some point in the future that Cambridge Analytics and perhaps other firms may be called in to talk about how they got access to this data, how they used it, and whether or not when they were told to, they shut it down. I mean, some of these firms violated, obviously, the user agreements that they had or the contracts that they had with Facebook, and that too is a big problem that we need to address.
All right, Senator Thune, thanks so much. Good luck today.